We had a bit of an issue here. I wanted something with more texture. We realized that the Ciperex was still a bit damp, and I ended up with skin irritation. So don't ever do that. This varnish is really strong. I had itching for a whole week. If the surface isn't properly prepared, you're going to run into problems with the finish. We checked, and the moisture level was at 12% when it really needs to be below 5%. Definitely something to avoid.
Hi, this is Fred from Créa Concept. Today there's something special about this video. We're in a space that has just been completely renovated by someone who took our training course. Let me introduce her to you. This is Federica.
Hello, Fred.
Hello, Federica. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, great. Listen, I'm really impressed with the decor you created. I imagine it was a huge amount of work.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it
With pleasure.
Let's go. So, you're going to explain to us what process you used to achieve this result.
I started with tiles that I didn't really like, so I decided to completely cover them with micro cement. We began by sanding everything with a diamond disc, the walls, the floor, and the niches. One very important thing, before starting, we removed all the silicone joints. That's essential to ensure good adhesion.
Absolutely, silicone is a nightmare. Nothing sticks to it.
Then there were height differences, because in some areas there was no tile at all.
Ah, yes. For example, between the top level of the tile and the ceiling.
Exactly. It stops halfway up the wall.
Yes, it's quite common in bathrooms. The tiles often don't go all the way up to the ceiling.
Exactly. Since in some areas the tiles stopped halfway up the wall, we corrected the level differences using BA6.
The thickness of the tile was about 1 centimeter.
Yes, exactly.
6 millimeters for the BA6 plus the adhesive brought it to 1 centimeter, which allowed you to even out the whole surface up to the ceiling.
So in the end, it was really perfectly flat. For the shower and bathtub area, we installed 2 partitions made of cellular concrete on each side. Another very important point, you have to test the humidity level and let it dry if it's above 2%. Once it dropped below 5%, we were able to move forward with the primer. So we started with the walls. Then I installed the corner beads and filled them with adhesive.
Yes, that's really important. Stabilizing the corners helps prevent them from becoming fragile or damaged later on.
Then we installed the mesh. I applied the adhesive from the top, and honestly, the hardest part for me was really the corners, and the niches too. It took a lot of effort because they're everywhere in the bathroom. So yeah, that was quite something.
The first thing I noticed when I arrived was, oh wow, all those corners, that's a lot of work.
So after that, we let everything dry and sanded it all down. Then I applied a second layer of adhesive to fully cover the mesh so it wouldn't be visible anymore. I spread it using a 25cm trowel, and I also bought a small 15cm trowel. It was super handy for the niches. Honestly, it changed everything. It really saved me.
You really have to adapt your tools depending on the challenges you face. You also used a taping knife at the same time, right?
Yes, I used it to clean my trowel every time. I tried to follow your advice and keep it clean throughout the process. I let everything dry and then sanded with a 40 grit. I really like when the surface is super smooth, so I put a lot of effort into sanding.
The challenge is that if you have bumps or dips, when you apply your finishing coat, your decorative plaster, and you sand over a bump, you might go through the decorative layer and end up seeing the adhesive underneath.
We vacuumed everything. Then I moved on to the decorative layer, the first coat of patata. I love the effect. It's really stunning and gives a great finish. For the large wall surfaces, I used the 25cm trowel, and for the niches, I stuck with the 15cm. I also used some unexpected little tools to do the corners. I don't know if you know them. They're teardrop-shaped makeup sponges. Super handy for getting into tight spots and making nice clean finishes.
Yes, okay, I see.
We use it for concealer. And actually, since it's very pointed,
I have to use it.
you don't need it, don't worry.
That's kind.
Because it's so pointed, I managed to get really clean corners.
Inside corners.
I did the inside corners with my fingers on the glue, and actually, I got irritated. So don't do that. Not to be repeated.
In this glue, there's lime and cement. So these are corrosive materials. It's better to wear gloves, it's recommended.
Yes, it'll take about a week to heal.
I have a cream that works well.
Oh really? You'll have to give it to me. After that, we let the first coat dry. We sanded it. This time I used 80 grit. For the shower tray, I really insisted and changed the sanding disc. I used the ones you recommended to smooth the surface properly.
Yes, these are actually discs used by tilers. They almost polish the surface, even if it's very hard, because they're diamond polishing discs. I'll let you check the description for a link if needed.
We vacuumed everything again, and with each coat, we changed the tape for a cleaner finish.
It's better. It gives you a flawless finish, and the result speaks for itself.
Then we moved on to the final decorative layer, the second coat of concrete finish.
So it's true that there are different qualities of concrete. You have the 130 concrete, the paste concrete, the patator. What made you choose this one?
I wanted something more textured. I loved the idea of having a contrast between the floor and the walls. So I chose patator for the walls, which has a coarser grain. But for the floor, I stuck with the ready-to-use concrete in clay color. It'll be perfect for easy cleaning.
Oh yes, it's definitely much easier.
Then we sanded everything, floors and walls, and vacuumed thoroughly. Since it was the final cleaning, we took even more care than before. Because the next step was the varnish, everything had to be perfectly clean. We started applying the first coat of varnish everywhere. Since it's a very strong varnish, we made sure to wear proper protection before applying it. That's really important.
You need gas masks. Yes, that's really important. A simple dust mask isn't enough, especially since you're working in a bathroom with no windows.
So yeah, I used a sash brush for the corners and tighter areas, and I used a rabbit's foot brush, a rabbit's paw brush.
Yeah, because rabbit's paw brushes, well, as they say, poor little things.
Then I used a standard 10mm roller to apply the varnish on the rest of the surface. We let the first coat dry for 6 hours, and then we applied the second coat.
When you applied the varnish, did you use raking lights?
Yes, I forgot to mention it.
No worries, but it's true. Working with raking light is really important. It allows you to spot any imperfections as you go and correct them on the spot. If the lights are behind you or poorly positioned, you might think the surface looks perfect. But once you switch to raking light, you'll notice all the flaws. By the way, check out this little video dedicated to varnish. It's worth it. Quick question. With all this work, the prep, sanding, panel installation, and everything you just explained, how long did it take you approximately? We're talking about a bathroom that's what, 5 or 6 square meters?
Yes, about that.
So with a shower area and a bathtub area, which we might see later.
I'd say 3 weeks.
Okay, so 3 weeks to have a completely transformed bathroom, and I'm blown away. The idea of cladding a cast iron bathtub like that, it almost feels like we're in an exotic hammam setting.
Actually, I don't take baths very often, mainly because my bathtub didn't really make me want to. But now, I think that's going to change.
You've done something impressive. You've applied concrete finish to a bathtub that was originally cast iron, if I understood correctly.
Yes.
Normally, concrete has to be applied to a hard, resistant, crack-free surface that's in good condition and free from moisture. It's a bit of a paradox because here we're talking about a bathtub and humidity. The thing is, when we talk about humidity issues on a substrate, it's about moisture coming up from underneath. In this case, the substrate is perfect because it's solid cast iron. So how did you manage to do that?
So I completely restructured it. I wanted to break up the rounded edges around the rim and give it a slightly more angular look. I placed a BA13 plasterboard sheet on top to create angles while still keeping some curves. I used fiber-reinforced adhesive to fix the board and fill the gaps underneath. That way, I was really able to shape the bathtub exactly how I wanted. Once it was in place, I sanded it thoroughly for a perfect finish. The central part was fairly easy because the trowel follows the shapes perfectly. The hardest part was definitely the bottom.
It's just the hollow, the curve there. I was actually wondering how you managed to do that.
Well, guess what? You inspired me with your spatula, so
Sometimes we repurpose tools.
I used this tool, which is also a baking tool. It's kind of like a spatula, made for scraping the bottom of buckets.
It just goes to show that many trades overlap. Oh, so this one has a slightly rigid center and a fairly flexible edge. Brilliant. I love this job. I discover new things every day. It's amazing. In this setup, I also see that you did your shower tray.
It's a solid resin shower tray, not hollow. I know you have to avoid hollow trays, otherwise it might not hold properly.
That's important too because yes, you can cover shower trays, but you have to pay attention to the type you're working with. Some trays don't have the same rigidity. Here we were dealing with a kind of resin concrete, something very hard. But there are also trays that are sometimes hollow inside, with a resin layer on top but honeycomb cavities underneath. You can tell by the resonance that they're not very rigid. There are other types as well, called wetty trays. These are ready-to-tile trays. They're too soft to apply concrete finish directly on top. But in this case, the tray was very hard and very stable, so you were able to cover it properly.
Yes.
Perfect. I assume you follow the same steps as you did for the walls, working on the walls and floor at the same time.
Yes.
What's important with trays like this, when the wall and tray are integrated, is that making that small curve allows the water to run off instead of staying in the corners. It makes cleaning easier, I imagine.
Oh yes, aesthetically I didn't want any silicone joints. I really wanted it to be seamless, so it all blends together. Same reason. I didn't want dirt to get stuck in there. Yes.
All right, you remembered the little exercise we did during training. Listen, I congratulate you on your work because honestly, you're at a professional level now. Seriously impressive. You might even start getting pro projects.
I have to redo a bathroom, so that works out perfectly.
Well, looks like you're going to become a professional for real now. Where will we be able to find you?
You see on my YouTube page, June 65.
We'll be able to see in pictures what you're going to do as you go along.
Yes.
Yes, well, we'll put the link in the description. Thanks for watching this video. That was Federica and Fred, and we'll see you soon.
Ciao,
Ciao, ciao.